Hey guys, this is Eve. Thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. This channel is dedicated to exploring various topics of the metaphysics and looking at them from a very symbolic, esoteric point of view, occult point of view, okay? And so, really, normally my videos are super duper educational, and I'm not saying that this video is not going to be educational in a way, but I'm really pissed the fuck off, really, to be honest with you, because I feel lately I've been getting a lot of spiritual attacks and things like that in terms of, the occult and sexuality and that type of thing. How people are so quick to put their sexual perversions on you and project that onto you instead of taking responsibility for really, who they are and what they believe, okay? So I want to explore that. I want to explore sexual perversion, the occult, how sex actually correlates to the occult, and really get into what I would say uncomfortable topics or what have you, because, there's a spiritual teacher or what have you that I look up to, and, this isn't the first time that he's kind of like hinted or, referred to me as being a whore or a slut or whatever the case is. And so I really feel that I have to put this person in his place. One thing, because it's a spiritual attack, I'm just going to put it out there, but one thing about spiritual attacks, it always goes to the person that it's intended for. When you're working magic and you're working spells, it's always directed towards someone. So you're not going to be upset by this message if it's actually something that doesn't apply to you. But if it's something that applies to you, you'll be very upset about it. Because I feel that, this particular person or what have you, they need to know that when you're pointing a finger at somebody, just like they say when you're pointing a finger at someone, there's 4 pointing back at you. So, the thing is that I'm an occultist, and when it comes to the occult, sex is very important, because sex is, I guess as you would say, a connection to the divine within the physical, right? Because, see, the divine is the body. Do you see what I'm saying? So we really don't have dominion over the body here. Everything is psycho or psychological. It's all about the thinking mind or what have you. It's not about gratifying the body. We don't have enough money or time to gratify the body. We don't have Saturn, right? Saturn has devolved into Satan. And so sex is a way for people to gain connection to the body and feel the body in its totality at most or what have you, okay, in this physical realm. So, I really want to, just talk about, how basically there's two selves, right? You have what you would call your physical ego, and your ego is made up of your, programming, whether it be media and entertainment, your family, your familial structure. It's made up of your religion, right? If you observe a religion or something like that, of your education, your nationality, and so forth. But when you go to sleep at night, you shed your concepts of the ego. And so the ego is the I am whatever. So you can say I am a woman, or I am a man, or I'm rich or I'm poor, whatever the case is, I'm black, I'm white, whatever the case is, you identify with a particular concept, right? I'm a mother, I'm a wife, whatever. I'm a husband, I'm a brother, whatever. Now, when you go to sleep at night, are you those things? So you're not those things. You are what you would call the spiritual. So you're just the I am. You're not the I'm a whatever, okay? So there are some beings that have connection to this I am aspect of themselves, or the spiritual aspect of themselves within the physical. And so we call them Jews, okay? We call them Jews. Also, we call them Israelites, all right? So the Israelites, if you look at the word light, light refers to Lucifer. So the Israelites are people who have a connection to their spiritual selves, okay, within the physical. So, the Matrix is all about destroying these people and discrediting them, right? To wipe them away from history. But the Jew does exist among you, okay? The Jew does exist among you, or the Israelite, or what have you. And so one thing about this realm teaches you that knowledge comes from your 5 senses, which you can see, taste, touch, smell, and hear. So this is the 5-pointed star. All of the facets of the matrix actually, correspond to the 5-pointed star. Like if you want to see a movie or something like that, when it comes to media and entertainment, the 5-pointed star is integral. You're looking to see how many stars. Or say government, right? On the government flags or what have you, you see there's always like a star oftentimes on many of the government flags. It's a 5-pointed star or a pentagram, okay? Like in schools or what have you, when teachers actually give their kids to do well, like if they did well on their assignment, they'll get a 5-pointed star. Okay, this is the pentagram. So this whole realm is to actually cut you off from the spiritual aspect of yourself, right? To calcify the pineal gland. That's why kids, when they go to school, they're given milk. The milk is designed to actually destroy the spiritual and to make them totally physical, or 5-pointed stars, pentagrams, okay? Now the Jew is the 6-pointed star. These are your Israelites. Your Israelites have a 6th sense. They're psychics, okay? So they can see past what you can see, taste, touch, smell, and hear. And so, Israelites have access to another dimension of knowledge. It goes past the physical realm. And so the way that the pineal gland works, or the way that the third eye works, is that it actually disseminates all the information that you've gotten throughout your incarnation, and it puts it together like a puzzle. All right, like puzzle pieces. And so it's able to actually show you the totality of the picture. Whereas, when you're living from the purely physical, you just have bits and pieces. You're trying to put things together. But once you have ascended up to your pineal gland, okay, and definitely to your crown chakra, you see the totality of existence. You're at the top of the pyramid, okay? So you only have certain people who have reached that, I guess you would say, place of consciousness, or whatever the case is. And oftentimes people who've reached that place of consciousness, people want to discredit them. All right, it kind of goes back to the story of Jesus in the Bible, and how, he was like, listen, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I'm God. And people are like, you're not God, and they want to crucify him for it, because in this realm, it's all about keeping you separate from the spiritual aspect of yourself. They don't want God to be realized in the flesh. Okay, so you're supposed to go to sleep to God. When you go to sleep, you're supposed to become the I am, or the spiritual. Or when you die, you're supposed to become the I am, or the spiritual. But for you to become the I am in the physical reality is blasphemy. And it's caused to get you judged here, or burnt as a witch, which I've been burnt many incarnations and lifetimes, okay? So anywho, I just want to basically vent or what have you, because this person that accused me of being a whore, basically, and talking about perverse subjects as it pertains to the occult, is in fact a whore when they go to sleep at night. So this person has, Lilith and Scorpio, right, in their Vedic chart. And so the thing is that Lilith and Scorpio is already a very sexual sign anyway, It's a very deep, dark sign, right? It's ruled by Pluto, and I think, in some, schools or what have you, there's a relation to Mars, okay? So it's a very sexual energy. But one thing about Lilith in your natal chart, especially your Vedic natal chart, your sidereal chart, represents what you would call your first incarnation. They call it the Black Moon Lilith. All right, so everybody started out here, with the black woman, okay? So the thing is that when you have Lilith and Scorpio, it perverts what you would call sex. It perverts sex. And so people who have Lilith and Scorpio, the Muladhara, or what you would call the root chakra, is off balance. And the thing is that it's so off balance that it creates a sexual urge that they can't really satisfy. And so the thing is that Lilith represents a parallel reality that represents your first incarnation. So there's a pocket of your consciousness that is, what is it? It's perverting Scorpio. And Scorpio is already kind of in a certain way you would say perverted. And so the Muladhara is really very positively charged. Like I have my Muladhara is negatively charged. But when you have Lilith and Scorpio, your Muladhara is super duper positively charged. It's like your root chakra is on steroids. And when your root chakra is on steroids, you're doing everything to gratify yourself. So when you go to sleep at night, your Muladhara, and it kind of goes, I think, to your sacral chakra as well, which is your will, right? Exercising your will, because the sacral chakra is your will, your desire, your creativity, and so forth. And so these beings, they have really creative ways of actually exercising the will that actually corresponds to what you would call sexual perversion. And also, too, that sexual perversion will manifest into violence. So you can see these people raping people in the astral realm. Yes, raping. You can see them indulging in all type of sexual fetishes and things like that. Like, what is it? It could be anything. Bestiality, molestation. Yes, molesting kids. Like I've heard certain people are like, oh my gosh, molesting and hurting children is one of the worst things. But when they go to sleep at night, they are actually molesting and killing children. Yes. Now imagine an ego who's like, oh my gosh, hurting kids is one of the worst things ever. And then they themselves are hurting kids. They're not going to get past the earth grid. You're not going to get past it. You're going to be shot back to hell. And you're going to be reincarnated. It's like that, what is it? It's like that video for, what is it? Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X's video, Montero, right? Montero, right? In his video from Montero, you see he's the feminine or the ego, right? The ego is always the feminine. He is being brought to judgment by his astral self, which is represented by these people who look just like him in blue. So the feminine and the ego, as the ego, always has a masculine astral body, all right? This is the person that he goes to sleep to at night. And eventually what he will die to. Now, he is supposed to be sinless, right? Going up to heaven, but he's shot back down to hell. Why? Souls like this, right? If you cannot get in touch within your natal chart, these outer, I guess as you would say, like asteroids, stuff like that, and like, planets and stuff like Black Moon Lilith or what have you, you're going to be shot back to hell because it actually accrues judgment. It accrues judgment. You will judge yourself and you'll feel bad about it. How would you feel? This person is actually saying that, oh, hurting kids is like one of the worst things that you can do. But he himself is hurting children because he has that Lilith and Scorpio. And so Lilith and Scorpio tries whatever it can to gratify the will. That could be hurting animals, hurting children, hurting people, exercising the will. When people exercise the will in a very imbalanced, positive way, they kill people. Yes. This is a killer. This is a murderer. He has no connection to his astral self. When he actually goes to sleep at night, he doesn't know where he goes to. At least he acts like he doesn't. And when he dies, he will be shot back to hell. So the thing is that beings like this, because they're trying to gratify the will, sex is one of the major ways to do it. So, excuse me. So this person is having sexually perverse like sex, like what some people consider to be perverse sex or whatnot, S&M and role playing, I don't know, whatever you can think of in terms of your imagination concerning sex. This is what this person is doing. So imagine you're actually a psychic like me, and you're faced with someone who is actually telling you this shit, insinuating that you're a whore and perverted. But they themselves are. And when they die, they have to actually come to the realization of that what they were judging themselves. Imagine that. It's like someone who's coming to you and saying, you know what, I'm really rich. You know, I got all these stocks and things like that, right? And they're, you know, glorifying, you know, their stocks or what have you. And then as a psychic, you get wind to the fact that all of their stocks are going to plummet and they're going to be broke. Like in that movie, what is it? Fun with Dick and Jane, right? They put all of their money into Globodyne stock. So it's like someone who's actually like gloating and like, you know, trying to flex in your face or whatever the case is. But you have wind to know that they're going to be broke. It takes everything within you just to sit on your hands to say, okay, you know what? As a psychic, I don't want to accrue karma by divulging this information, right? But when you're so fucking indignant with the shit, you see what I'm saying? When you actually are so judgmental of someone, I feel that it's my duty to check you, to say, hey, you don't really know what you're up against. You look like a fool. You absolutely look like a fool. You know, so I have access to my Lilith. I have a Lilith in Libra. I have an access to this, what you would call, you know, very dogmatic, a very dogmatic personality, you know. Lilith in Libra is very much a pervert of relationships, right? Relationships. Doesn't care anything about relationships at all. You know, this Lilith that I have will take your man in a second. Won't think anything about it. Because Lilith does not believe in marriage, right? Now, Lilith in Libra, I should say Lilith in Libra does not believe in marriage. Now, me, I have my moon and my Venus in Libra, and so I'm all about respecting the sanctity of marriage and so forth as an ego. But in the deep subconscious, right, going back to my first incarnation, no, this is a personality that is really just all about self, all about being dogmatic, about being self-righteous, right? About actually destroying the institution of marriage. You know, actually, you know, turning the institution of marriage on its head. My Lilith totally hates marriage. You know, she feels that, you know, if your physical body is different every 7 years, right? Physically, you change. Your cells in your body are different. You even look different, right? You don't even have the same set of skin and nails and so forth. If you've changed physically, then you've also changed emotionally, and you've also changed mentally. So if you get married to someone, right? And I think there's like this saying about the 7-year itch or whatnot that a lot of married couples get. You are actually with a totally different person that you initially married. So you would have to fall in love with that person all over again for you to truly be happy. And most people can't do that. Most people can't grow together. Consciousness is all about growing at the time that it needs to. And so Lilith in Libra actually has information that the institution of marriage, along with many other institutions that we observe, are made by extraterrestrials. They're made by extraterrestrials to actually produce what you would call louche, or acute emotional suffering. Because the real elite, they don't care about the institution of marriage like that. You know, if they have a partner, they cheat on their partners, and they knowingly do so. Like Jada and Will Smith or what have you. That's a prime example of the elite and how the elite do not respect the sanctity of marriage. They see it as a business contract. They do not see it as something that's based upon love, right? The true elite don't marry, you know, typically marry based upon love. It's about making money. It's about building a kingdom, building an empire, what have you. Because the flesh is weak. And so you being with one person goes against your nature. It's like food. Like if you say for yourself, okay, I don't want to eat Chinese food every night. If you ate Chinese food every night for a week, then you might want Italian or what have you. Simplistically speaking, your nature seeks variety and diversity. And so because your nature seeks variety and diversity, that's just a part of you innately, right, as a human being. The same thing goes for relationships, okay? So Lilith and Libra, or what have you, is totally about the perversion of marriage and actually exposing marriage as some type of alien institution and not something that is to be respected at all. Now, as a ego, right, I say no. You know, when you're married to someone, you vow to be with them for sickness, you know, and sickness and in health till death do you part, or whatever the case is. And so that should be respected by the two people that's within that union. Okay, but you know, there's the other aspect of it. So everything that is light or considered light or wonderful or wholesome or what have you in the matrix also has a dark polarity to it. Okay, and Lilith, which is the dark moon, right, the deep subconscious, actually is all about the perverted dark aspect and actually exposing the dark and perverted aspect of that. So my Lilith and Libra is very much about, I guess you would say, perverted justice, you know. Like I said, Lilith and Libra is about, you know, an eye for both of your eyes or a tooth for both of the teeth in your mouth. It's not about fairness, okay? So I have access to this aspect of myself, but like I said, some souls do not have access to who they are in the deep subconscious. And so when you don't, and you're being judgmental towards people, you will meet that aspect of yourself, and you will be reincarnated. You will be shot back to hell. You'll be shot back to earth, whatever you want to call it, and you will be reincarnated. So the fact that this person actually is kind of turning their nose up at me for pointing out sexuality and how it correlates to the occult is very sickening to me. That this is a murderous slut. This is a murderous slut in the astral realm. A devil, a murderer, a rapist, a molester, all of that. How do you tell a person like this, hey, listen, you of all people don't need to call someone a whore. Please don't. Don't do it. Because you're going to see that whorish aspect of yourself. Don't do it. You know, there's a lot of different, you know, things that actually helps to explain to people basically like the difference between the ego and the astral self. Like, for example, that movie Us by Lapita, right? Lapita, she actually stars in it. In the movie Us, Lapita and her family, they encounter a family that comes to them one night, and the family that comes to them looks just like them. And so they say to themselves, okay, what is this? This is really crazy. Like, this is like, you know, some crazy, you know, ass shit, or whatever the case is. But come to find out, they are those people. Okay? 1 second, guys. All right, so they are those people, okay? So when they actually encounter this family of crazy people, they're like, who's that? That's how it's going to be when you start to give up the ego and you start to die. When you're astral, when you will start to meet the cross of your subconscious mind, you will not be able to recognize this person that you are in the deep subconscious. I kind of explain it to people, like, say if you know, like say you left something in the refrigerator, right? Like, sometimes I do that, you know, like I'll have like maybe a tomato that's behind some salad dressing, you know, I didn't realize it was there. And so, you know, you'll smell something like, wait a second, what's that smell? And then you remove the salad dressing, you say, oh my gosh, I forgot that tomato was in there. And the tomato is, you know, it has all these, you know, what is it, spores or whatever, right? And things like that all over it. And so your first inclination is just to throw it away. So this is Lilith. This represents your deep subconscious. And so, you know, every time we are reincarnated, we throw away this subconscious aspect of ourselves because we feel too judged to actually face it. Let's just say that. And we're taught not to face it. You know, we're taught to circumcise our our consciousness. That's why, like, when you watch TV, right? Think to yourself how many times you've seen a program, right? Because television is programming. Think to yourself how many times you've ever seen a program where the bad guy wins. The good guy always wins. And so this whole reality teaches you to circumcise yourself. It teaches you to be good, right? But the more that you are so-called good, the more that you're not respecting the shadow aspect of your personality. And so it becomes that nasty, filthy, disgusting tomato that you left in the refrigerator. And so you get reincarnated because you don't actually accept the tomato, right? You just forgot about it. And basically that's how the subconscious mind works. Human beings can only access like less than 10% of their brain. So, when you gain access to within your natal chart, like Lilith and your Chiron and whatever the case is, like Neptune and so forth, and you gain access to these outer planets or whatever the case is, right? Uranus. You will start to really see aspects of the personality that you, the ego, do not identify with. And you're not going to want to get in touch with that aspect of the self. And because you will feel guilty about those aspects of yourself, you will reincarnate. You will reincarnate. So, for this person to be so judgmental, and even like to see him like talk about sexual topics is very interesting because, like I said, I'm an empath, right? I'm a psychic. As empaths, we don't really pay attention to what people say. We pay attention to how people look, their demeanor, how they say it, why they say certain things. When this person talks about sex, his demeanor changes. It changes. And so this is access to the subconscious. He's not aware that he's doing this. But if he were to have watched himself to talk about anything related to sex, to see the changing of his demeanor, he would see that there's something subconscious there that he may not be aware of, and he will be made aware of it when he dies. When he goes to sleep at night, he's not aware of it because, like I said, the devil or the veil of your ego always tries to keep itself separate from the ego itself, right? But we will actually have this aspect of us actually made, I guess you would say, made known. The veil was going to be ripped off of you, right? The veil was going to be ripped off and you're going to be able to see all the filthy, disgusting nastiness, whatever the case is, and you're not going to want to have to face that. Who can face the fact that they're dogmatic and calling somebody a whore and then come to find out that they're a filthy fucking degenerate? Who can face that? And they claim to be a spiritual teacher and into like Aleister Crowley and stuff like that. You know nothing about Aleister Crowley, sir. Aleister Crowley knew the stuff that I'm telling you right now. Okay? One thing about Aleister Crowley, he had followers or what have you. If you're not familiar with Aleister Crowley, he is basically an occultist. And so he had an epiphany basically when he went to Egypt or whatnot. And so he started an organization, what is it called? The Thelema? And so he would actually push his followers to the brink of self-degradation. And they would do filthy, nasty, disgusting things. And so, superficially speaking, you look at people like Aleister Crowley, you pass judgment, you say, man, he's really fucking crazy. But what he was trying to do was to get his followers in touch with the deep, filthy, disgusting subconscious before death. Because if you can't get in touch with the filthy, disgusting, degenerate Lilith aspect of yourself before death, you will reincarnate. It will feel nasty to you. You don't want to actually become one with it. And so if you can actually experience the filth within the physical and actually gratify that aspect of yourself through the ego, which is God, before having to, I guess what you would say, ascend, then you could get to heaven, right? You could get to heaven in a way. But you can't get to heaven if you don't go through hell. And so he was putting them through hell. So this person that's passing judgment on me, Aleister Crowley would go to him and say, you know what, you're a filthy fucking whore. You're a nasty, murderous bitch. Yes. And so, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's give you a taste of it in the flesh. Because you're going to be brought face to face with this aspect of yourself. And if you're judging it in the flesh, you will be back in hell. So this was the whole thing that Crowley was trying to accomplish. Because one thing about Crowley, he was a, Crowley was a devout. He grew up a devout. And so he saw the hypocrisy, if you will, in the church. He was like, oh, you know, the devout's are very, like I said, prudish and so forth. You know, they're not about exploring anything occult or, you know, doing anything that's outside rules or societal norms and things like that outside of the religion. And so that's why oftentimes you will see people who are strictly devout, they will experience what you would call stigmata. Stigmata is when you get the afflictions of Christ. And so the reason why they get stigmata is because they're imbalanced. They are more about the pious aspect of themselves, or the upper chakras, but you have a lower nature as well. You're supposed to balance the nature. You're not supposed to deny an aspect of yourself. And so people who are deeply religious and dogmatic, they deny an aspect of themselves. So when that happens, the lower nature becomes filthy and disgusting. So basically, I like to tell people, like when I did my book Follow, I like to tell people that saints are filthy, disgusting, degenerate whores. A saint in the physical is a whore in the metaphysics, in the astral realm. Like I said, that video with U2 in Mysterious Ways, how there were ladies, right, dressed in burqas, right, in the physical. But at night, in front of the moon, you saw a belly dancer dancing provocatively in front of the moon, right? So you say to yourself, okay, you know, what is that? Those women in burqas, right? Because the burqa is something that, you know, many Middle Eastern, you know, cultures would have. They have their women dress up in burqas where their body is covered from head to toe. It's a restriction. And so because of your restriction in the physical, you're all out there when you actually go to sleep at night, and eventually when you escape to the astral realm and you await reincarnation when you die. So, you know, you have people being pious and wonderful, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so wonderful and I'm great. Listen, it's not good to be good and it's not good to be bad. It's good to be balanced. So if you are imbalanced, you will be brought to judgment. And so I really don't like people being fucking hypocrites. You know, I don't like people who are so emphatically just like, you know what, you're just being dirty. You're being dirty. You're being nasty for saying these things. And really the thing is that they're projecting their guilt onto you. They're projecting their guilt onto you. How is that? How is that? You know, I don't know if, you know, I was just born this way or whatever the case is, but, oh yeah, I was pretty much born a psychic. But, you know, I say to myself, how horrible is your death going to be? And I don't try to, you know, say, oh my gosh, you know, I'm so, you know, I'm better than you, or I know more than you do, whatever the case is. You know what I mean? I don't like to use my intel, whatever the case is, to tear people down, because I wouldn't want someone to use intel to tear me down. But when you are actually, you know, first time you do it, I'll give you a pass. You know, I'll say, oh, okay, you know what? That person, just give them some grace, right? Everybody deserves grace. Give them some grace and just go about your business. But when you continually do bullshit, and then someone calls you out on your bullshit, and you can't respond to it, the Lilith and Libra in me comes out. And it wants you to admit to the truth. Libra wants to bring you to the truth. It will drag you. Lilith and Libra will drag you to the truth. She drags. Okay, no pun intended. So, you know, I really just want people to be able to see that whatever you're feeling super duper, I guess that you would say, judgmental towards, go towards that, because that is an aspect of you. You know, you want to be light when you leave the world. You don't want to be heavy. When you're super duper, when you have a super duper, I guess you would say, love for something, or a super duper aversion for something, those things will be used against you to rip you apart. Yes, it will rip you apart. When you start to die, when you start to give up the ego, you know, because like I said, like my ego, I'm a Pisces ascendant. So Pisces are very loving, very kind, very empathic, you know, helpful, want to help humanity and that type of thing. So, you know, and my ascendant sign is very much angelic. And I don't talk about that like tooting my own horn. I don't really have a whole lot of ego left, so I can talk about my ego or my ascendant self or my ascendant sign like it's not even me. Because in another life, you know, my ascendant sign could be Scorpio or something like that, or whatever the case is. So it's just a role, okay? But, you know, to be such a kind and loving ego, to be brought to judgment with someone who, you know, will actually, you know, have no empathy for somebody and just pretty much judge somebody, you know, and just say, hey, you know what, I don't really care, or whatever the case is, you did such and such, or whatever the case is, and so you deserve this type of judgment or justice. You know, it's it kind of fucks with you. It's a conflict. It's a conflict, or what have you. It's a conflict of interest. It's a split, or what you would call even a split personality. And to be made to feel guilty, if you will, for this person, I don't feel guilty. You know, I feel guilty. What is it? The guilt should be put toward the person that created it, that created the restriction to actually develop this, I guess what you would say, you know, fucked up part of the personality, or what have you. You know what I mean? You know, I don't think that we should, in this realm, judge any aspect of ourselves, you know, Lilith or whatever it is, because it was not us who actually created that perversion. You know, and so it's the one who created the restriction of the ego that birthed this beast. And the people that do it, they don't want to come to judgment for it. They always want to blame Jesus, the sun. They don't want to blame the moon. All right? Just like in the Catholic Church, they love Mary. They don't want to blame Mary, but they want to blame Jesus. They want to blame the sun. They don't want to blame the creator. They want to blame the creation. It's kind of like if I paint a fucked up picture, right? Say if I paint a picture and I'm like, man, this picture is fucked up. And then I start to blame the picture and I'm like, this picture is fucked up. Fuck this picture. Da 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 da. Well, I was the one who created it. So since I'm the one who created the picture, why do I blame the creation? And we are the creations. We are the creations. But we hang for the creator. And that's fucking disgusting. That's fucking disgusting. It's degenerate. But these people, they get a nice tasty meal off of actually seeing us fight ourselves, right? When we actually start to ascend and we start to experience what you would call ego death, and we are nailed to the cross of the subconscious mind where God and the devil meet each other. You know, it's, I mean, really, they get a good tasty meal off of that. That's why, you know, in the Catholic religion, right? It's all about the blood and the blood of Jesus. This is vampiric. This is vampiric. You know, like say in Matthew, right? Wrote it down. Matthew 5:17 through 20, right? Then you have Mark 2:23 through 28. you'll see how there's two types of Jesuses. One Jesus is all about the law and how no whittle of the law will disappear, you know, before, you know, the Son of Man cometh, or whatever the case is. But there's another Jesus that's all about breaking the law and not respecting the commandments, like saying, say, observing the Sabbath, or whatever the case is. So there's two different yous. There's a you that's the sun, but there's a you that's the moon. There's a light and there's a dark aspect to yourself. And so if you're only embracing the light, and this realm teaches you to only embrace the light, and when you try to embrace the dark, you are actually, I guess you would say, judged for it, right? You know, you'll be crucified. You will be crucified. Like, I hate the beginning of that video, Montero, when, you know, Little Nas X is talking about how we hide the parts of ourselves that we don't want people to see. No, that's not something that should be placed upon the ego. The ego is taught to hide aspects of itself and not to embrace what it really is and who it really is. We're taught to be a light, godly, saintly person. We're taught to respect rules and norms and things like that. So why the fuck are you blaming the creation when you, the creator, created that? That means that you're what we would call, quote unquote, in the occult, a sick fuck. So we don't really blame murderers in the occult, okay? We don't blame murderers in the occult. We blame the one who fucking created murderers. We don't blame thieves. We don't blame whomever, whatever. These things are created. Monsters are not born. They are created. The people that run this hellhole, they get a good tasty meal off of perverting nature. They're perverts. And they get a nice little tasty meal of seeing the blood of Jesus. It makes them feel better. Because the elite, L, right? L corresponds to Saturn, which is Satan. They have too much fucking money, which means they have too much fucking time, right? Man, I've been to Italy 50 fucking thousand times, right? I've eaten at all the nice restaurants and traveled here and there and bought all the nice cars and houses. And really, what are we going to do now? Let's go ahead and kill some people. Really? Never done that before. Let's torture some babies, right? Never done that before. Right? I've never fucked a one-legged midget. One thing my ex-husband would always tell me, and this has always stuck with me. He said, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. These sick bastards that created these religions have nothing to do but fuck people over. And they want you to feel bad and judged. Sorry. You ever seen the movie Eyes Wide Shut? They call it the Illuminati movie. Right? They show you the elite when they get into their little meetings and things like that, their little late night rendezvous and so forth. They have to have 5 fucking passwords to get into the bitch. But when Tom Cruise gets into their meeting, their first inclination is to strip him and to judge him. Now, how can you judge somebody and want to strip them naked when you need a fucking password to get into the house? Now, listen now, in the movie, they don't just ask him, you know, they ask him, like, what is the password for the event? So he tells them, you know, it's Fidelio. So he says what? They say, well, what's the password for the house? Damn. You not only have to have a password for the event, but you have to have a fucking password for the house? Are you that fucking filthy? That you have to have all these passwords and you have to wear masks. But you have the audacity to judge the sheeple. Huh? You're a fucking disgrace. A fucking disgrace. How dare you? To be so self-righteous. Pharisee. Pharisee is what we call a fucking hypocrite. The people that run our society are hypocritical fucks. Pharisees. Pharaohs. They do way worse than the sheeple. But they're the ones that run your judicial system, judging people when they create bullshit. So hosey, isn't it? Hypocritical hose. Hypocritical hose. Is that like alliteration or something like that? This is my Lilith and Libra coming out, actually. So this is another aspect of the personality that I have come to ascended to, if you will. Because Lilith and Libra, like I said, doesn't believe in equal justice. Lilith and Libra believes in perverted justice. Whatever you do to create somebody, that you created within someone, that you judge within someone, you should be judged tenfold. Because you are conscious. It's different when someone's not conscious of something. But when you are conscious of what you're doing and you intentionally do things to create filthiness and then judge people for the filth that you create, well, you get what you get. You get what you get, you know? So, you know, I just feel like I don't want people to die thinking that they're hot shit or they're all that and they have the right to be judgmental towards people when they don't have a dick to stand on. I think that's why sometimes I have a difficult time meeting people, right? And connecting with people, because being a psychic is very intimidating. If you're not comfortable with yourself, you're not going to be comfortable around a person like me. I can sit in the company of anybody, a murderer, whatever the case is. But when you're not comfortable being that aspect of yourself, it's a problem for me. It really is. I like clean souls. Clean souls are, you know what? I can be myself in heaven and on earth. I don't have to shoot the shit with you. I don't have to pretend to be something that I'm not. This is me. Now, I know it's not me because I was created to be this way. So I can hang on the cross and be fine with it. But when people hide shit from me and I can see what you're hiding, then it does something within me. It makes me upset. It makes me uneasy because I have to feel your fucking filth. It said that Jesus took on the sins of the world, right? Well, is a sin physical? Can you smell a sin? Can you taste it? Can you touch it? Can you tell somebody, bring me that sin over there? It is something that is not physical. It is the auric field. It is metaphysical. So when someone can tap into the metaphysical aspect of yourself that you, the ego, don't feel comfortable with, you are a dirty bitch. Be comfortable with yourself. Get in touch with yourself. You will meet yourself in the afterlife. And the powers that be will crucify you for what you know or what you don't know. Study the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. They tell you that you'll be faced with angels and demons. You will be ripped apart. All the times you were pointing fingers it's going to be pointing back at you because you reach the source of existence. Source is good and bad, light and dark. You don't want to go to die judging whores when you are a filthy whore. Lilith and Scorpio, if you have a Lilith and Scorpio in your Vedic chart, you are a filthy, murderous whore. You can't satisfy, you have too much chi in your root chakra. You can't satisfy the will. Some people, they do things to, to satisfy the will, right? They're like, I want to do this or do that. You have so much chi or so much will that it has to manifest into sexual perversion. You are fucking your life away and killing people in a parallel reality. The Bible talks about parallel realities and hints at it. It's coded. And the book of Revelation, it says the woman sits on many waters. What is that in reference to? If you can't explain that shit to me, then you're not ready to die. You're not ready. You're ready to be reincarnated. Do you sit on many waters? That's Chewy. Come here, Choo-Choo. Come on. Chewy. Come on. Come on, baby. Come on. You guys want to meet Chew? Come on, Chewy. This is my baby. He is an evil fucker. Okay? When I say Chewy is evil, he is like the devil reincarnate. I call him Samael. But, hey, he's my little friend or whatever the case is. And so, he's okay. I just don't really get along with men very well. I'm very feminine, I don't know, just a very feminine soul, very imbalanced. That's why I'm a psychic. Psychics are always imbalanced. And so Chewy represents a very masculine energy. He likes to fight and stuff like that. Like Chewy. Say, Chewy, say, I like to fight, mommy. See, I'm a fighter, not a lover. So I like somebody to curl up to at night and, have some fun with, whatever the case is. But Chewy's like, no, I want to bite you. I'm gonna bite you. But yeah, he's here's the pepperoni. Yeah. So, he's not the most loving and caring or what have you. But basically, getting back to the topic or whatever, Chewy, go ahead and get down, baby. This really fucks with me when I see souls that look crazy. As a psychic, when I see a soul that's calling me a whore and knowing that they are a whore when they go to sleep at night and eventually when they die, and they're a murderous, violent whore, that hurts me. As a psychic, it hurts me. It tears into my auric field. It's like I want to help this person, but this person is blind. You see what I'm saying? This person, you can't tell him that. You can't tell him anything because the ego always feels that it knows everything. I know myself and you don't know yourself. It's like these spiritual teachers, they try to make sense of spirituality by looking at the 5-pointed star, the pentagram, which is your 5 senses. Everything in the matrix is dominated by the powers that be. All your books, it doesn't matter whether it's the Bible or whatever it is. Media and entertainment, the Bible, it could be anything. Anything you watch on TV, everything. They're not going to give you the ultimate truth in those things. Now, those things can point to truth, but truth comes from within. It comes from revelation. That's why consciousness evolves to revelation by the end of the Bible. And the Bible actually, in Revelation, it gives wind to the subconscious. Like when people take LSD, right? They get visions and stuff like that. The subconscious mind is not rationality. It's not rational. If you call yourself a spiritual teacher and you're trying to be rational and do research, you're coming back to hell. Because Isis, Ra, must meet Isis, the feminine aspect. The woman. You come from the woman. This is the feminine. The feminine is ethereal. Is ethereal. It's not something that's physical. Your research will mean nothing when it's time for you to give up your ego. It will mean absolutely nothing. You meet revelation, you meet all these images and things like that, that to the ego doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You will start to lose your mind. And you think that you can teach somebody something when you know nothing yourself. And that's sad. It's sad when the student becomes the teacher. Okay? Alright guys, so that's pretty much, all that I have to say, whatever the case is, about my little rant and, that type of thing about, how I've been treated or what have you lately, and when I discuss occult topics and I discuss sex and how sex is a major part of, how humanity is bound. It's a major part of the occult, right? It actually correlates to your chi, And so we're basically robbed of our life and our life force, or what have you, when they target these aspects of ourselves. You don't really realize, but, you could very well be evil, degenerate. And as a ego, you're a loving, pious, and righteous, wonderful person. And so when you are being crucified, you're not going to get past the earth grid because you don't know thyself. So know thyself. Alright guys, so thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.